how I changed my live thing. Oh well, it's all good. Hello everyone and welcome. It is August 26th and it is 9:22 in California maybe, or it's 8:22 in California. It's like maybe 10:45 here, and maybe it's, I don't know what time it is, you guys. It's late. It's a little bit late. So we're here as usual. Gonna get some color mixed up for our portrait of the evening. So, thank you guys for joining me. Remember to click that like screen so that I can get some viewers in. Maybe get a little bit of action going in the chat. All right, we have a pretty good mixture of some flesh tones here. So let's go ahead and get started. And I ran out of panels, so tomorrow I have to gesso some more of these wooden panels. And so I'm using this cheap, like, little thing that you get like 5 or 6 in a pack or whatever. Anyway, let's get this going here. Very warm colors to a point. We're only going to be working till around midnight, so we got to get some work done, okay? I was on the phone chatting with my daughter who's going to school at UTSA in San Antonio. And she was telling me they had to evacuate the building tonight because of a bomb threat, which is so lame. You know, there's no sense in all that. You know, do all that stuff. Stressful, man. Over here trying to paint pictures and stuff. Like I said, I'm gonna get this one done tonight. This is expediting. Like this person would be sitting there and they only have time like for an hour's worth of you drawing their face. Maybe yellower down there. Let's see. A little bit more white. These are still just our middle tones. Hopefully you guys have had a less eventful day than myself. Oh, you know what? I do need a little paper towel though. So give me just 1 second. Let me grab one real quick. If I have one handy. Oh, 1 second. All right, I'm back. Had to grab a paper towel so I could wipe my brush right here. So, yeah, that's what happened today at the University of San Antonio, or University of Texas in San Antonio. And that, you know, I could have gone without that today. People acting a fool. He's got a lot of really neat color going on. There's greens. It's really dark sculptural shadings. So, but yeah, it just turned out to be some false alarm. So, thankfully, there was no real danger other than, I mean, but still, there actually was, because when people are like rushed out of a building like that, there can be, folks falling and all kinds of other ridiculous stuff. So it's best just to avoid that. Hold on, this little napkin is blowing around in the wind. So I'm gonna just fold it underneath my piece of glass that I have here. Okay. Yeah, just not quite as focused as I normally am for obvious reasons, you guys. So just gonna paint. I don't have to think when I paint. So that's good, You just paint when you paint. Unless you're trying to work out like some issue that you have to resolve in your painting, and it might take some thought, but then you're thinking about the painting, Let's get some of that pigment off of the brush here. Alright, I guess we need to start shaping the face out properly. Moving along. Don't worry about a thing, Bob says. I like his mentality. I like his mentality. Big old brush to start, you guys, okay? That's how you want to start these paintings, with the big brush. Get the paint on there, smash it in, have some fun. Then you can smooth it out. Enjoy yourself, basically. Get your mind off of things. Every time you need to change color, sometimes you just wipe your brush is all you need to do. Let's get this spot right here. Start sculpting the face now that we have pigment where we really want it, okay? We'll go a little more carefully, apply things more deliberately. Getting color each time, okay? It's too light. It's better. Make sure you try to pay attention to the subtleties that you see in the colors right now. You just want to make it sort of like a human face. You're not necessarily trying to make it look like anybody. You just want to make sure you're getting the color in where you need to. So it's a little deeper reddish brown on the nose. Maybe kind of an orangish color. Hey, thank you guys. I appreciate that. That is very helpful with college tuition, and probably gonna need some anti-anxiety meds if this keeps up, But I digress. This is my anti-anxiety, actually. Back to this. Might need a little smaller brush soon. Laying paint on nice and thick tonight. Let's go ahead and switch to a smaller brush. A little bit smaller, so that's what we were using. And this is what we're gonna go to right now. Get a little tighter action. We get a little drink of my tea. Actually, I think it's not tea. It's just water. Just water tonight, you guys. Just water every night. And coffee. Coffee is probably my number one drink of choice. My number one drink of choice. Let's get some of this cerulean blue and that yellow to make a green. Maybe it needs to be a little deeper. Some green on the lip, right on the corners. There's also a little purplish color right on the furthest corners of the mouth. So I'll just put that color on the corner of my brush and hopefully be able to emulate where that's gonna go. Close enough. Under the lip. Let's get a little darker. It's better. Start shaping this nostril situation out. Usually I'll go a little slower and explain more of what I'm doing, but I just have to keep up tonight. It's pretty self-explanatory stuff. You just take this and make it look like that. I know, I wish it was that simple. But there's all these things that are involved, like how to mix the color to get it the right hue that's going to match the skin that you're... I always want to call it a client, you know, that your model has, right? You know, he's not a client. He's passed away. Rest in peace, Mr. Marley. Your music lives on legendarily. I think the Redemption song is probably one of my favorite Bob Marley songs. It's just such a simple jam, you know? Shadow for the eyelid here. Sometimes all you have to do is just, because the brush is almost the right length, you just touch it and just wiggle it just a little bit. It'll be probably enough. Trying to get this eyelid on his, that little section right there. It's a little paler blue, I think. It's a gray, maybe some kind of a dulled down purple inside there. It's hard to say. It's a tricky color to focus on. blue, a little black, mixing up some dark beard color. Let's put some red in it. Nice dark beard color. It also matches his hair color too. Darkness. And then we'll be ready to switch to a smaller brush here in a minute. We'll do a little blending to smooth some of this out, but not too much. It's going to stay pretty loosely painted like I have it. Pretty loosely painted. Yeah, sorry if I'm not reading a lot of comments tonight, you guys. I'm just painting. I'll look through just like always, and if I find a comment in there that is really needing some answering, I'm going to send you a message, okay? So I appreciate all the comments and all the likes. You guys are really, really great. You're making me feel good about coming on here tonight. So yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to or not. But I'm always glad I do every time, you know? When I consider maybe I need to rest. But there's no sense in rest. What is that about? Who wants that in their lives? Let's get this color around his eyebrow, or his eyelid rather. A little darker on that side. A little bit. That looks good. Soften those paint strokes up just by going across the edges of them. I'm going to add more green onto his cheek right here. Maybe I just need to just add the blue. That's a little better. Yeah, that green, it's a tricky color to see in there, but man, it's worth it if you can get it. Almost ready for a smaller brush here. Almost. We need to get a little bit more of this area in here. Sculpt it out with this larger brush. With the larger brush. Alright, let's see. Let's get some of this. Get this little wrinkle that runs down his face right there. The chin. A little brighter right there in the middle. And right here on the edge. Little highlight on the middle of the lip there. Really get some blue on it, I suppose. Sometimes you got to be dramatic when you mix those colors. Let's start working on the shadowed side of the nose here. Real dark cast shadow. Let me see if I can mix that up. Yeah, I might need a smaller brush for this part. Maybe. You see how I have to use the corner of my brush right here? That's an indication that you need to be using a smaller brush. Even though that big brush is a lot of fun, you know, it just may be easier to use something smaller. But we're at a pretty good point where we could probably switch over to a smaller brush. I'm gonna get a little bit more color here and there though. There's some red right underneath here. Redder. All right, let's move to a smaller brush. We might come back to this one later, but that's our next in the lineup right there. I appreciate it. The color is, yeah, it's tricky, but you know, you got to be brave, and then you'll figure out like how brave you can be and get away with it, if you know what I mean. Because I really like adding color, hue into a face. You know, makes me feel good. Like that blue right there. When I come back and add a white highlight towards the end, that's going to make a really nice effect. It's going to look like there's some kind of a blue overhead light or something like that. Shape out the bridge of the nose a little bit. Let's look really carefully at our color here, you know. It's kind of a brighter orange. So let's see if we could do that. And we'll go around our highlight. Some green. Some green here too. A little bit on the side. Darker on the other side. Let's wipe our brush off of some of those brighter colors. And go with something a little darker and less chromatic for this area. Like not a lot of actual color. Kind of a grayed out sort of a feeling is what you think of when you sort of desaturate something. Darker on the inside of the eye socket right there. Palette that brush. That feels better. Darker still. Sometimes you have to use black to darken it a little bit. Don't be afraid of using black. I know some people say not to, and for whatever reason. They want you to have like a chromatic dark instead of just black, you know. But to be honest, if you're gonna mix this red and that blue and, that yellow together to try to make some, almost black, some really dark color, then those are some expensive pigments you're mixing in there to try to make a really cheap pigment. You know what I mean? That's how I see it. So just use black, darken it up a little bit. It's going to be fine. No one's going to be mad at you. I'm not an art professor. But you will see that in a lot of these painting tutorials. People will tell you never to mix black in because it dulls your image down too much. But the truth of the matter is that in some parts of your painting, it needs to be dull. You don't want the whole thing like popping like, all crazy. It's got to be soft and blendy and harmonious and make you feel good when you look at it. Some paintings, when you look at it, you feel a little anxious, It might be the color. Could be the expression on the people's face that you're looking at. Yes, Mr. Marley. The sclera of the eye right here. And the white of the eyes, but they're almost never white. They're always some other color. Always. Sometimes there'll even be some red, especially with Marley. You just never know. But in this case, the sclera of his eyes are white. Or blue, rather. Not red. I just said, oh, they're never white. And then I'm like, oh, they're white. Never mind. You know what I'm talking about. You guys. You know what I'm talking about. Shape up our eye a little more. See, so you never really have to paint the eye in. What you're looking at is these little colors right there. So that red right under the eye right here. It's got a little darker, sort of a purplish line that moves across there. So you paint the stuff around the eye, and then the eye will come out. Let's see, let's get the lips. These songs of freedom. Good old Marley. There's another one that I think was like, didn't he pass away at like age 28 or something, like really young? Or I don't know how he died actually. Don't. I probably should have looked it up. Thank you guys. Oh, he had cancer? Oh, that sucks. Well, yeah, no, he was 42. That was it, I mean, I don't know what the life expectancy was back then, but here in the United States, 42 is a good long life. I'm just kidding, you guys. A little brighter for the middle of his lip there. Let's wipe some of that gray off though. A little redder. more pink. That feels good. Darker on the side. So the colors I have poured out from left to right are going to be black. I have some French ultramarine. This one is raw umber. There's red. I have cerulean blue tonight, which I don't always pour out. Hamsa yellow, Hansa. I'm sure there's other ways to pronounce it. But last one is some titanium white. You don't want to use the zinc white if you have it. It's just one of those colors that is not as archival. But the zinc white is kind of like a cooler white, if that makes sense. Cooler white. Let's see, I need that brighter. There we go. Maybe that's too bright. It looks like it's closer. We can sculpt his cheek out a little bit. It's kind of a shadowed little section right here. Sometimes you'll have wet paint there, and if you try to apply a color over the top of it, it'll be a little too blendy for you. So the idea is just mix your paint up, load your brush, and hit it one time. If you start blending, then it turns gray. See how that red can stand out? And if I blend it to make it smoother, the chroma of it just disappears. So to avoid making your paintings look gray and muddy, just apply the paint stroke and move on with your life, okay? It's one of the main questions that I hear all the time is if you're using so much wet paint and it's just everywhere, how are you avoiding this muddy texture that happens in wet on wet all the time? And it's not any secret. You just don't blend. You just put the paint down and move on. It's the best way. You paint right over stuff just like that. But now, watch what happens if I do the same thing right next to it, but I'm going to stroke this thing a couple of times. It starts to get more dull. It's picking up that pigment under there, but I mean, even that still isn't too bad, you know. Now, when you're filling in an area like we were early on, go ahead and just paint it in like we did. Is that wet on wet also, you can use that to your advantage, the way it blends. So you can get something a little stronger than what you think. And when you paint it in there, like that's a really strong highlight. But you can just blend it out and it'll be okay. Just go over it just a little. Soften it up into almost nothing. Let some of those paint strokes stay there and give yourself a little bit of definition in the eyelids sometimes. I don't really like to have like a lot of sharp edges on the painting. It looks too forced. I like a looser, softer kind of a look, you know, which at this sort of a stage, you're offered like a choice by the painting. You can leave it rough like this or start smoothing it out and making it a little nicer. Nicer as far as the finish goes, you know. It may be just nice enough the way it is without any extra blending or little tricks. Some red on his forehead right here. Redder. It's better. It's better redder. Yeah, I'm sorry I did that. My apologies. But I will be doing a video similar to this, various flesh tones. So we'll do flesh tones for all ethnicities because they're all just slightly different. They'll reflect light differently. They're more or less transparent. So there's, you know, some differences that we can study. And it helps to know what to look for. So, I didn't add a subscriber link, but you can totally go to my page and become my very first subscriber. And yeah, I might have something special for you, potentially. But you'll definitely get access to me whenever. Ask me a question, send me some pictures. Watch some of my special super secret videos. So we're just about to a stopping point for tonight. Like I said, this was going to be a quick sketch, and I wanted to just run through, get a little bit of, painting done for the night. It kind of makes me feel a little better after hearing some stuff, you know? So, it was good. His ear is way lower. Yeah, so that black that I just painted, if I were to apply more than just a single stroke there, it would just mix and become crazy. And look funky. But, yeah, I don't know. We haven't been going for too long, but I do think that I'm going to do a little bit more hair just to kind of get a little more time in. Just a little more. And I'll get his red hat in the back, the beanie. to use a lot of color tonight. Very expression and driven. It's like using this thing, forcing myself to be, you know, loose and just get down an idea, you know, help myself feel a little better about things. And you guys are helping too, you know, seeing you here and being able to know that I'm appreciated, even if, you know, I'm just in my own mind, I'm appreciated by you guys. Helps take my mind off of some other things. So, yeah, you being here is good therapy for me. Appreciate it. Oh, another thing, this panel that I paint on here is gray, so when I paint white on it, it stands out as white. It also gets rid of that fear that you might have of doing, you know, something on a white sort of a panel right away, you know. Get some color on here. We'll get some texture, some orange stuff, some patterns. Let's see, let me get this red off of this brush so I can put blue on the top. Maybe that's too blue. That's better. And tomorrow I'll have some real panels to paint on too, instead of these little canvas panels they're good practice, you know, but if you're gonna paint like I do quite often and quickly, using these things up like sheets of paper, it's gonna get expensive. So try to find alternative if you can, you know, get you something that's easier, cheaper, like a little piece of wood, and paint gesso on it. All right, guys, that's gonna be it for the night. I appreciate everything. Thank you for all of your love and support. And from Mike Packer, which is me, wishing you much love and respect. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Thanks for joining me for this one. Remember, share my stream and, you know, send it to a friend or an artist, maybe a family member. I would love to, you know, help someone along. All right? Makes me feel useful. It'll be a good lead for you. And they'll appreciate it too. It's a win-win. Thank you guys. Much love and respect. I'll see you all tomorrow. Remember, give me a follow. Thank you.